scummy paparazzi laughing at my faces while I'm crying, coming out and taking my pictures. They set me up by sending me to the most exposed places. I cried on the phone for an hour and he loved every minute of it. The control he had over someone as powerful as me, as he loved the control to hurt his own daughter 100,000%, he loved it.
I just think we need to trust the system. We can be
And her
skeptical
family.
and conspiracy theorist all day long. Then you gotta use common sense and be like, but do we really know?
Yeah.
Like, what really makes sense here?
I just think she has, obviously some mental things going on.
If she was hurting in any way or sad about something, it would show.
When it's time for people to come in a misogynistic culture for a woman, there's a whole apparatus ready to do it.
And when you're making money for everybody, they don't want it to end.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Blanca and we discuss here anything that is related to anti-MLM, lifestyle, military, motherhood. So any of those topics are of any interest to you, then definitely hit the red subscribe button. Today's video we are going to be talking about Britney Spears' conservatorship. I've actually been talking about this topic extensively on my TikTok account, so if you are really interested in this topic then definitely follow me there. But yes, we are going to be talking about Britney Spears' conservatorship and why it's misogynistic. We are going to actually react also to a video of Ben Shapiro and his weighing in and opinions about Britney Spears' conservatorship. So if any of this is triggering to you, because we are going to be talking about, mental health, we're going to be talking about abuse, please click out of video. Do not watch it from here on out. I am going to be stopping quite frequently with this video because I don't want to be hit with a copyright strike, so excuse the frequent pausing.
So I've noticed a lot of focus around the Britney Spears story. So the New York Times brought out a documentary, I think in February, about Free Britney, the Free Britney movement. It is a terrible documentary. I mean, truly a bad documentary. The reason I say that it's bad is because it actually deals with none of the major underlying issues.
Shows that he really didn't pay attention to it or didn't really care for it, but
Being placed under conservatorship. Her father is her conservator. The reason that she was placed under conservatorship is because apparently she was suicidal.
that's not the reason why she was put into a conservatorship. Goes to show you that he didn't even bother to read an article or even look at the court documents that say that she was actually put into a conservatorship because she was deemed to have dementia.
It seems like she was suicidal, that she suffers from, at the very least, bipolar. We don't actually know her mental health situation because nobody has access to that information. What we do know is that before she had a conservatorship, she involved herself in a bunch of bizarre behavior, up to and including violent behavior. The risk of doing violence to herself, she was placed on what's called the 5150 hold in California, which means a mental health.
Further down in the video, he says that, people were jumping into conclusions, the Free Britney movement. But he clearly didn't have no qualms to jump into conclusions and speculate that she has some sort of mental health problem without actually having proof that she may or may not have a mental health problem. Also, to put into context, this video was actually published July 2nd, and Ronan Farrow's with Gia Tolentino's article did not come out until that Saturday. He has yet to actually put a pinned comment stating, I've read the article, or my views have changed, my views have actually stayed the same on this topic. Nothing acknowledging the allegations that have been put forth, that have come out of that article. And if you've read that article from Ronan Farrow, you would know that that 5150, the way it happened, she wasn't a danger to anybody. Just saying.
And conservatorship is not a lightly undertaken process in the state of California. To actually be given a conservatorship, you basically have to demonstrate that you are a continuing danger to yourself or others, that you cannot take care of yourself. Now, people seem to think that because Britney Spears can perform, this means that in the rest of her life, she's doing fine. Well, there's very little evidence of that. So
very little evidence that she can take care of herself? Okay. Let's take out of the equation the fact that she's released 4 albums, has gone on world tours, has done 248 shows for her Las Vegas residency in 4 years, and the fact that she was a judge on a very, very popular reality TV show, okay? A person that has dementia, somebody from the mental health world, please correct me if I am wrong, but if somebody that has dementia is able to do that, I don't think they really have dementia. And that just only proves that she can take care of herself. Even her mother, she came out and stated that Britney has been able to take care of herself for quite some time now.
the entire documentary begins with a bunch of people who themselves seem kind of crazy. right? Rallying outside of a courthouse, talking about Free Britney, hashtag Free Britney. It interviews at length people who spend their time decoding Britney Spears' Instagram feed, which I'm not sure why that is a good source for a documentary. I mean, those could be QAnon folks. Like, you just don't know. Anybody who spends all day online decrypting signs is probably somebody you don't want to trust on whether somebody has a mental health problem that requires outside help.
Okay, that part, that ending part right there, I do find hilarious and ironic, because essentially what he said is that QAnon conspiracy theorists are freaking nuts, which I agree on that point. Okay, I'll give him that. I do agree that the QAnon people are a little nuts, right? But here's the thing. You can't say that the Free Britney movement as a whole, in general, are filled with crazy people. There are mental health specialists in there. There are lawyers in there advocating, putting out their, expertise on the subject, on the topic. You have people that are advocates. And then, of course, you do have fans. And it's because of the fans who were noticing little details here and there that didn't seem to be consistent with what the narrative was being put about her, is because this movement has gathered so much potential to the point that Britney herself has actually felt the need and the courage to speak out and make her voice be heard. This is why it has gained so much momentum, and you see all of the key players here blaming, pointing the finger at each other, because they know the jig is up at this point.
What we know is that Britney Spears was a child star that is pretty much horrific for anybody who's involved in being a child star. I know people who have been child stars. It is not good for families. It is not good for children. Britney Spears was basically abandoned at the age of 15 by her parents in New York, and that was a sin. It shouldn't have happened. And then she was turned into a child star, and then she was sexualized at an extremely early age, obviously with Oops, I Did It Again, dressed in the bare midriff Catholic schoolgirl uniform. I believe she was 16 when she did that.
To be fair, I think he finds any exposure of skin on women to be quite scandalous, but go on.
And she was turned into a sex symbol before she was of age, which was really ephebophilic and terrible for American society. It was terrible to her. It was terrible of her parents. The way that the New York Times treats this whole thing in their documentary is Britney Spears would have been fine, except for the paparazzi, who apparently drove her crazy, despite the fact that we have literally thousands of people who are followed by the paparazzi all over the world and have never been placed under conservatorship.
And this is where my point stems from. If you look at that time period of when Britney was the pop star, right? The celebrity to take a picture of, paparazzis were harassing her day and night, 24 hours, 7 days a week. The woman had no peace, okay? She couldn't go down the street without the paparazzis following her. Anything that she did was scrutinized to the 10th degree. She was literally walking with her son, Sean Preston, tripped. The paparazzi took pictures of that. They were the ones that caused her to trip. Took that moment and put it on the magazine and said, Britney's an unfit mother, without giving context as to what happened. Even when she was getting divorced from Kevin Federline, both of them would go out when they didn't have their children. But yet it was Britney was the one that was receiving all of the backlash for going out, being a mother, and being unfit because she was going out and having a good time.
Britney Spears must be paying the babysitter overtime.
It's as if when you become a mother as a woman, you cease to exist. Like, you're not allowed to have fun because you're a mom. But men can go out, have a good time, and it's not a problem. The misogyny. Let's not forget that she was not only receiving harassment from the paparazzis, but she was also getting harassed and being belittled by news reporters, okay? Anytime she gave an interview, she was being asked really inappropriate questions when she was 16, and some guy, some old geezer was like, oh, about your breasts. Asked a 16, 17-year-old about her breasts. That shit is so inappropriate.
There's one subject we didn't discuss. What was that? Everyone's talking about it.
What?
Well, your breasts.
My breasts.
You seem to get furious when...
I wish she would have been so courageous at that point to just be like, I am ending the interview right here. Why did no adult step in? It is beyond my comprehension, because that is such an inappropriate question to ask, whether you're an adult or a minor, especially if you're a minor. Like, who asks that question? Like, are you serious? And then you had the infamous Diane Sawyer interview where she made Britney literally cry on national TV because she mentioned to her that she was such a bad role model for young girls, that parents were getting really frustrated with her. Diane Sawyer thought it would be appropriate to tell her that the governor's wife from Maryland, her name is Kendall Elric, wanted to shoot Britney if she had the opportunity. That is some crazy shit.
Really, if I had an opportunity to shoot Britney Spears, I think I would.
Oh, that's horrible.
Well,
That's really bad.
Because it's the example for kids and how hard it is to be a parent.
Oh my goodness. Hello. Ew. Strong Britney. Yeah, it was a weird time.
We also have the Matt Lauer interview. Like, there's so many instances where she is just getting berated and the misogyny is like ridiculous. Even when she was, I believe, on Star Search at 10 years old, the host was asking her if she had a boyfriend. Why are we asking questions like this to women and not to men? Like, bringing it to present day, women who are in the film industry, or just women in general, how about that, still get asked this question. How are you going to handle your work life with your personal life? Who is taking care of the children? Are you also cooking at home? Are you dieting in order to fit into this costume? What did you do physically to get this role? What did you do to get this position? These are types of questions that are never asked to their male counterparts. Something that Shapiro here is just not even bothering to glance at is the fact that the stuff that the paparazzi used to do back then doesn't really fly today, especially because we have Instagram, we have other social media platforms and laws that were put into place because some of these celebrities were just having enough of being harassed, of being followed every single place they went at every single minute. People tend to forget that, yes, okay, they are celebrities, but they forget that they're also humans too, and that they deserve to have a life of their own where they're not being followed constantly. To me, he's really trying to dissolve the paparazzi from any fault when we know that they definitely played a major role.
We know that she became so unstable that in a custody hearing between her and her husband, Kevin Federline, she was not granted full custody or even half custody. It was like a 70-30 custody arrangement, I believe, or an 80-20 custody arrangement. Okay, now that really cuts against the grain in California. In California, the laws regarding custody in a divorce hearing really favor the mom. And then you had all the outside symptoms, right? You had her dropping off the map for months at a time. You had her being put on the 5150 hold. Even of late, you had the situation where she was supposed to take up residency at the MGM in Las Vegas, and instead of doing a performance, she just walked off the stage right to her car, and then she went missing for a while.
In regards to her children, why do you think it was so easy to strip her of the rights to see her children? Why was it so easy for her to not be provided or given sole custody of her children?
So I hear you want to free Britney, and I just want to tell you, welcome to the disability revolution. We are so glad you're here. I think it's bananas that Britney couldn't even see her children. Well, it's not uncommon at all. In fact, mothers with disabilities face removal rates up to 40 to 80%.
Think about it. If the public perception and the optics of her were being deemed as she's crazy, she doesn't have any stability, of course they are not going to give the children to her. But at the same time, that does not construe that she should have been in a conservatorship for 13 years where she doesn't get to decide where to go, what to eat, what to do with her body, and what to do with her freaking money. And I honestly cannot believe that his proof of a recently, present day, that Britney is mentally incapable of taking care of herself and making financial decisions and taking care of her children is because she decided to walk off and not announce her domination residency in Las Vegas. If that to you, Ben, is proof that she's not mentally capable of taking care of herself, maybe, just maybe, you should reevaluate that point, because this point has been talked about extensively in Heather the Lawyer's lives on TikTok. Definitely give her a follow there, and she's also here on YouTube. Again, that is Heather the Lawyer. But the point that we've been talking about in her lives is the fact that if Britney Spears really has dementia, and she really has this mental health disability, I don't want to say disability, but this mental health problem, why are we putting her to work? Isn't that really shitty that we're putting somebody that you're saying has these mental health issues, that she can't make these financial decisions for herself, but yet we're making her work? We're making her go on tours. We're making her record music. We're making her teach and remember choreography for different numbers of her tour. But yet she has dementia, and yet she needs a conservatorship.
These types of conservatorships are typically used for people who don't have the ability to manage their finances, never had that, or had something like Alzheimer's or dementia and aren't going to regain their faculties. This is not a normal situation in any way, shape, or form, and
make it make sense.
And the New York Times is big sources on this. The people who they talk to in this documentary are people like her personal assistant for several years who was hired by the family to kind of be her chaperone for several years, but who is not.
The level of disgust in his face when he was like her personal assistant.
Been that for many years. Lawyers who are not involved in the case and who haven't seen any of the internal documents. People who our online fans who hold hashtag Free Britney signs? Here's my question. Do any of them have any information that suggests that she is mentally well enough to handle her own business? Because I promise you, the court has seen more information than any of these people have.
Not only are we discrediting people that have worked with Britney, have known her for a long time, back when she was in Louisiana, and have worked with her up until what happened with her in 2007, 2008. Now we're also discrediting lawyers who either have experience in this field, are practicing lawyers in regards to conservatorships, have done litigations on this topic. Now we're going to discredit them. I think having these lawyers on the documentary was a very good idea because it would give people an understanding on how these laws work, what are the parameters, and why it isn't easy for Britney to petition and advocate for herself. And I'm only bringing that point up because he's going to say something later on in the video about that. If you've read the Ronan Farrow and Gia Tolentino article, then you know that this conservatorship was done under very, very suspicious circumstances. This conservatorship, according to Jacqueline Butcher, I should say, which is a family friend of Lynn Spears, stated that she was present when this conservatorship was going down. Britney was not aware of it because she was still in the hospital from the 5150. And it took 10 minutes apparently for everything to be litigated and to be granted a conservatorship. If you look at the California law, according to the New Yorker, the conservatee has to be given a 5-day notice before the conservatorship can start or can have like a process for it. Britney was not given that. Jacqueline Butcher was supposed to testify. Nobody asked her questions. Nobody asked for her testimony. And then subsequently, you realize that it was she realizes, I should say, that it was all to just keep her into this conservatorship, all to just control her money. And it's sad. She herself in the article states that she regrets helping this corrupt family.
The most common illnesses are serious biological brain disorders like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, schizoaffective disorder, clinical depression, and obsessive compulsive disorder. Now, they have to be pretty serious. There are a lot of people who have kind of low-level OCD. They're not going to end up in conservatorship.
Not only is Ben Shapiro being a misogynist, but he's also being an ableist right here. Just because people have these diagnoses doesn't mean that they can't dictate over their lives, that they can't have a say over their bodies. I mean, coming from a person who doesn't believe in big government and just believes in freedom and all of these liberties, he's really siding here with the government and the fact that it's okay to strip somebody of their liberties and make them a slave.
And one of the things that you may have noticed is that since she has been placed in conservatorship, she has not lost all of her money. She has not blown through all of her money. She has not attempted suicide so far as we are aware. Apparently has been protecting her from the paparazzi. Honestly, what was amazing about that New York Times documentary was the suggestion that people who obsessively follow Britney Spears caused her to become mentally ill, but also people who obsessively follow Britney Spears should now make mental decisions for her.
I honestly cannot believe that he said not blowing her money away, she is well taken care of, and the fact that her father is protecting her from the paparazzi. I can't even say that with a straight face because that is such a blatant lie. Just because Britney Spears herself hasn't blown her money away doesn't mean that her conservatorship hasn't. There's allegations in the article that Lou Taylor has blown away money, and one of the members that's on Britney's team stated somewhere along the lines of it wasn't $1 million just right off the bat, but it was definitely wasting money on little particular things that were just didn't make any sense, and when questioned would just immediately shut everything down and would not answer. That's suspicious. And the fact that her father, Jamie Spears over here, wasted $900 million. And I'm saying wasted because his legal team is what billed, not him, Britney Spears, $900 million in a span of 4 months, from October to February of this year, to defend him.
Motions to seal the 12th account, $30,000. Media Matters. Hold on, here it is. 656 hours. Media Matters. 656 hours at $500,000. How does responding to the media saying Britney's daddy loves her protect the conservatorship someone please tell me how this benefits Britney, because all of this is supposed to benefit Britney and her estate. People disliking James Spears doesn't change her investments or her licensing and perfume deals. It might change how much they purchase those things because they don't like him and know that he's involved in benefiting from it, but he could resign, which Britney's attorney asked him to do, and he refused. $500,000 for Media Matters. I'm so glad people are objecting to this. I could repeat myself all day long about how annoyed I am by that.
That's blowing money away. And even if Britney Spears wanted to blow her money away, guess what, Ben? That's her problem. That's her money. Lastly, I want to address the paparazzi point that he brought up. He really never defended her from the paparazzi. He was never really around in her life, okay? The man himself has an extensive pattern and behavior of abuse. He's an alcoholic. He was never able to keep a job down, went bankrupt. I'm not shaming people who suffer from alcoholism. I am just saying that he has all of these issues, and yet he is not suffering the same consequences as Britney for being put under a conservatorship. There's definitely something else that Britney has that he doesn't, that makes her more susceptible to being in one and allows her to be kept in one. Not to mention that Britney herself in her testimony on June 23rd stated that they set me up. They sent her to I think it was a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a therapist, somewhere in a different city where she didn't want to go, and she voiced that she didn't want to go there because there's paparazzis there taking pictures of her going to see her therapist. So how is he defending her from the paparazzi when he literally exposes her and throws her to the lion?
No, I just want him to come to my home. I'm not willing to go to Westlake and be embarrassed by all these paparazzi, these scummy paparazzi laughing at my faces while I'm crying, coming out and taking my pictures as all these white, nice dinners where people drinking wine at restaurants, watching me leave these places. They set me up by sending me to the most exposed places, and I told them I didn't want to go there because I knew paparazzi would show up there.
The judge cannot make any ruling based on what she said, as she is still yet to file a petition to terminate her conservatorship. So she hasn't even filed. People are saying, oh, the court is biased against her. She hasn't even filed the paperwork to terminate her conservatorship at this point.
If you know how conservatorships work, then you know that Britney cannot petition to end the conservatorship herself. It has to go through her lawyer, because under the conservatorship and because the courts deemed her not mentally capable of hiring or making any type of decisions, she can't petition to end her conservatorship. And in her testimony, she said that she was unaware that she could end her conservatorship at any given time.
Ma'am, I didn't know I could petition the conservatorship to end it. I'm sorry for my ignorance, but I honestly didn't know that. But honestly, I don't think I owe anyone to be evaluated. I've done more than enough. I don't feel like I should even be in a room with anyone to offend me by trying to question my capacity of intelligence, whether I need to be in this stupid conservatorship or not.
Because her lawyer is doing a shit-ass job of informing her of what she can and cannot do, not advising her of her options.
People who suffer from mental illness are not reliable narrators. They are not. Okay, I have people in my family who have had severe mental illness. They're not reliable narrators of their own life story.
The ableism comes up again. So we're going to disregard a person's experience and their testimony of abuse just because they're not reliable narrators of their story. That is how people stay in abusive situations, because people don't believe them.
And mainly, I didn't want to say it openly because I honestly didn't think anyone would believe me. To be honest with you, the Paris Hilton story on what they did to her to that school, I didn't believe any of it. I'm sorry, I'm an outsider, and I'll just be honest. I didn't believe it. And maybe I'm wrong, and that's why I didn't want to say any of this to anybody, to the public, because I thought people would make fun of me or laugh at me and say, she's lying, she's got everything, she's Britney Spears. I'm not lying.
The notion that people who are severely mentally ill are capable of making their own decisions is not correct. And it's quite dangerous to those people.
So the narrative that you're spinning, that's saying that you can't trust their narratives because they had a mental health illness, that's actually detrimental to them.
According to Variety, Spears' case has garnered an enormous amount of global attention, with pressure mounting to support the pop star and remove her father from the conservatorship. But again, it is not supporting people who are mentally ill to treat them as fully capable of making decisions for themselves. It's not true.
Yes, Britney Spears' case is a highlight to thousands of abusive conservatorships that are happening right now that are unaware. We're unaware that is happening right now. And she herself, in her testimony, yet again brought this up and stated that there are thousands upon thousands of conservatorships that will never see the day of light for their abusive behavior because they're not Britney Spears.
Documentary, the Framing Britney documentary from the New York Times, really does gloss over the relationship that she had with this guy named Sam Lutfi, who was sort of this weird guy apparently who's...
Sam Lutfi is a shifty guy. We can't really trust him. He's been linked to Lindsay Lohan and I think Amanda Bynes as well, and Courtney Love, trying to put them under conservatorships, allegedly, along with allegedly Lou Taylor as well. I don't think they really glossed over that fact, but go on.
In a 2008 motion, her mom, Lynn, claimed that Lutfi, quote, essentially moved into Britney's home and is purported to take control of her life, home, and finances. Lynn Spears alleged Lutfi took control of her medication, cut phone lines, controlled, manipulated her. The family believed that he intentionally drugged and confused her.
There are those allegations against Sam Lutfi. If you also read the New Yorker article as well, you will then realize they weren't really looking out for Britney's interests. They were really looking out for her money and the fact that he was a little too close and influencing her, maybe not in the best way. He was allowing her to make decisions for herself for the first time ever in her life. They just wanted him out. And you see that in the article because when Britney was put into a 5150, I believe the first time or the second time, one of those, he says, and I quote, "That's it. We're getting him out of here. We are getting that conservatorship." It really wasn't about just getting him away because he's a bad influence. It really boils down to, in my opinion, to having control over her money. Her parents, or Jamie, was stating that he didn't want other men to come in and abuse and manipulate and take her money, but it was okay for him to do this, allegedly.
Again, letting her perform on stage is not the same thing as letting her, in the same way, by the way, child stars perform. They're not in control of their finances. They're not in control of their life.
Child stars can't make those decisions because they're minors. We have a 39-year-old woman being treated as a minor when she is out here performing, and according to him, performing is not proof that she is capable or mentally capable.
Well, if you think about it, since 2008, Britney has put out 4 albums, gone on 4 world tours. She had a 4-year Vegas residency. She has the fragrance that brings in money. Her brother claimed that it has made more than $100 billion worldwide. That means that she is earning so much money for so many people. Her father has said he's increased her net worth from $2.8 million to $60 million. In other words, she's making money for everybody. And when you're making money for everybody, they don't want it to end.
That's very telling, don't you think?
Again, she lives in a very big house. She has access to her kids again.
I'm going to reiterate this point yet again. Just because she's living in a mansion and has access to her kids doesn't mean that there isn't any abuse happening, whether it's financially, emotionally, physically, or mentally. That woman has been in a conservatorship for 13 years, and while granted, there may have been a smidgen reason as to initially having her in one, I don't think for 13 years that reason holds any merit now. Going off of the New Yorker article, if these allegations are true, her father used her children as a way to manipulate her and emotionally abuse her in order to work, record albums, go on these tours. How is this conservatorship any better? And I'm not even gonna front. He proved a point from one of the lawyers on the article. Let me bring it up because I really want to quote him directly. The New Yorker quotes a disability rights lawyer, and he says that many guardianships can prove inescapable, which is why they are vulnerable to abuse. In extreme cases, he said, the strategy is to isolate, medicate, liquidate. You isolate them, you medicate them to keep them quiet and liquidate the assets. If a conservatee functions well under a conservatorship, it can be framed as proof of the arrangement's necessity. If a conservatee struggles under conservatorship, the same conclusion can be drawn, which Ben Shapiro is proving his point. So whether she does well or horrible in the conservatorship, it's going to be used either way as proof that the conservatorship is needed, which is just ridiculous. And I completely understand why she is apprehensive to having another mental health evaluation, because the last time she had one, it got progressively worse for her. And on top of that, the medical providers, she won't even get to be allowed to choose them. her father will.
Every few months. And here's the testimony, firsthand, not rumors of the testimony. It's amazing how folks without information want to jump to conclusions. And as somebody who actually cares about the wellness of mentally ill individuals and making sure that they're not victimized by others, I find the public push, especially from a media that should know better, pretty disturbing.
So what he's saying is that there is no merit to the Free Britney movement, but it's because of the Free Britney movement is that we are where we are today, that Britney was able to give her testimony 3 weeks ago and just bring forth all of the allegations and the abuse that she's been experiencing. Now we have all of the key players in this conservatorship pointing the finger at each other while at the same time exposing the lies in which they have accomplished this conservatorship. Public perception of Britney Spears at the time was that she was too slutty and too sexy, too provocative, that her music videos were not kid-friendly. As previously stated, it got worse after her breakup with Justin, and you can tell in the Diane Sawyer interview that she was right there telling her that it was her fault, that she must have done something, when we don't know that, and for all we know, he could have done something to her.
Justin sort of made it seem, rightly or wrongly, like she had cheated on him.
Justin Timberlake is in the house, and I just want to ask you one question. Did you Britney Spears? Yes or no? Oh, man. Come on, man. Okay, I did it. No. Yeah!
And then there's people like Courtney Holland and Amanda Ensing who took a snippet of Britney's testimony and decided that it was okay to politicize it. You feel like it's wrong that Britney Spears is being forced to have an IUD and take medication she doesn't want, but still think everyone should have to get the vaccine to get back to normal, then please take a seat. You clearly have no room to talk about medical freedom. You clearly, both of you, do not have fucking empathy or sympathy whatsoever, because you decided to take somebody's pain, somebody's suffering, somebody's story that doesn't even have to do anything with what you're trying to spin here, and politicize it in order to push your narratives. The LA Times released an article today, July 12th, and it's titled, Britney Spears' Conservatorship Sets the Stage for Disability Rights Showdown. In the 2021 Hulu documentary Framing Britney Spears, her mother Lynn speculated that the cause of the star's behavior was postpartum depression, but nobody really talked to her about it. Nobody addressed it with her at the time, but now I guess, I don't know, hindsight is 2020. That's what I'm trying to get at. But in court documents from 2008, her estranged father, Jamie P. Spears, claimed it was dementia. So again, proving my point that Ben Shapiro is wrong by saying that she wanted to unlive herself and that's why she's in a conservatorship. The contours of Spears' long conservatorship, as well as the conventional attitudes regarding women living with mental illness, recall female hysteria. The article continues to say, recall female hysteria, a Victorian-era pseudo-malady that pathologized women with exhibited signs of psychological stress, trauma, or unconventional sex desires. Hysteria became a go-to diagnosis for mothers, daughters, and wives who showed resistance to society's expectations. Even just talking back to men, says the writer and disability just advocate S.E. Smith, giving their doctors and families license to commit them indefinitely. Britney is a figurehead for an untold number of people the world will never hear about who are fighting for their civil rights. Though Spears' medical history remains private, she doesn't seem to fit the profile of a typical conservatee. Of the estimated 1.3 million Americans living under a conservatorship, most are elderly individuals with cognitive impairment and adults with disability, groups who may be indefinitely unable to provide for themselves, says it. On the contrary, Spears has released 4 albums, embarked on 4 world tours, and performed 248 shows as part of her 4-year residency in Las Vegas, which grossed $137.7 million. A recent report in the New Yorker revealed that just before sharing her public testimony, Spears called 911 to report the conservatorship as abusive, or that she was being abused. Spears' case is tied to a culture of ableism that has been able to justify the confinement and abuse of people living with mental illness and disabilities. And then there's this pervasive attitude that we don't deserve civil rights. It doesn't help when people argue, Britney's not crazy. She's not disabled. Whether we think so or not, the court decided that she is. A study in 2017 by the U.S. Justice Department in Minnesota found that statistically half of the conservatorship exploitation victims are under the age of 65, that women are disproportionately exploited under these conservatorships. They tend to outlive men and can be targeted when they live alone. You also have an entire generation that not so long ago committed women to the asylum for being hysterical. You would think we would be so far removed from that. Spears spent the 2000s pushing back against the relentless media scrutiny and surveillance that shaped her teen years. The exposure only heightened after she became a mother, a wife, and a divorcee by the age of 26. Aftershocks reverberated in the magazines like Star and OK, which framed Spears' open rebellion and then brutal come down with headlines like "Insane," "Meltdown," and "Lock her up." Gossip columnist Perez Hilton referred to Spears as an unfit mother, and shortly after the actor Heath Ledger died of an overdose in 2008, Hilton sold t-shirts that read, "Why wasn't it Britney?" And yet Ben Shapiro is stating that the media had nothing to do with the downfall of Britney Spears, with the scrutiny that she was facing, with the fact that she ended up in a conservatorship. Under the banner of Free Britney, Spears' most die-hard fans have long rallied support for the singer's release. Among them is an anonymous team of lawyers, hackers, and cyber sleuths who have maintained a paper trail of court documents and decoded them for the public. The Free Britney movement, with their laser-like focus, deserve a lot of credit for educating people on the conservatorship reform, says Smith. People should know there are numerous steps one can take before a conservatorship, like long-term treatment and supportive decision-making, a legal process in which a person chooses their own trusted supporters to make decisions should they be incapacitated, says Smith. How many of those steps did the Spears family blow over? In all honest opinion, it seems like they didn't even consider anything else other than the conservatorship. As we can see, conservatorships typically exploit women and people who are under the age of 65. It is very misogynistic. So for Ben Shapiro to have made this video and posted it on YouTube, and to not only dismiss our opinions, which, I mean, he could do that, it's whatever, to dismiss our opinions and our thoughts of the conservatorship, but it's a whole different ballgame to dismiss Britney's testimony and what she's been experiencing within this conservatorship.
Have you ever known anyone who has terminated a conservatorship?
Of the cases that I've been involved in, I have not seen a conservatee who has successfully terminated a conservatorship.
Britney knows that her daddy loves her, and she knows that she can call on him anytime, conservatorship or not. Jamie serves as Britney's conservator because he loves her. He wants the best for Britney.
Overall, conservatorships are a huge concern, not just for celebrities, but for everyone. Sometimes conservatorships may be necessary, but the way they are set up right now, it allows for people to abuse their power as conservator and not look out for the conservatee's actual best interest. It's so crushing to think how someone like Britney Spears and many others have their rights and self-autonomy completely taken away due to having some mental illness. Already, Senator Warren and Senator Casey are looking into having federal oversights on conservatorships. Britney's conservatorship has shed light on huge and major issues within conservatorships that will hopefully be addressed and drastic changes can be made so that Congress can amend and add laws that will mitigate the abuse that happens within them. I hope that Britney Spears knows that she's an incredibly talented, inspiring, and above all strong woman. I hope that she knows that she has changed many lives and continues to do so. We're all fighting and rooting for a free Britney. That's all for today. I know it's a topic that's heavy, but it's definitely important to talk about. Not only because it's affecting someone like Britney Spears, but because it's affecting countless others who don't have a voice nor the resource as Britney. Hope you guys are doing well, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!